and didn't sexually assault her, but he did thrust a toy between her legs. The court held that this incident, and the lawsuit was filed by the parents, alleging inadequate supervision. They said that in this circumstance, that the defendants, that a supervisor was there in the room, okay, was present, had been momentarily distracted, but they also, again, trying to minimize risks, the school had a closed-circuit monitor there of the room, showing the children, just in case that teacher did ever have to step away. And in that circumstance, they said, you know what, that teacher was momentarily distracted. And they said this, if that teacher had been distracted for much longer, then yeah, we probably would have attached liability. But they also said this, again, I keep saying this over and over, they said there was no notice that had ever been provided prior to this incident happening of any potential foreseeable risk where this child would do this to this girl, or that this girl was some type of target, or that this child, this male child, had exhibited any kind of physically aggressive behavior. So in that case, the court threw that case out also. Foreseeable risk. Okay? Let me give you a couple of scenarios and ask you, what do you think? Okay? We got a second grade teacher that's scheduled for recess duty with grades 1 through 3. Okay? And they're heading out to the playground. And this second grade teacher stops at the lounge to get a cup of coffee. And they begin chatting with some colleagues for a couple of minutes. And they don't continue to accompany the kids out to the playground. He does arrive there at the duty station approximately 7 minutes late for his 15-minute duty of monitoring and supervising the kids there in the playground. Okay? When he walks outside to the playground, again, he's been inside, supposed to be with the kids for their 15 minutes in the playground. He has been talking with colleagues, drinking coffee in the cafeteria for 7 minutes. He walks outside and he finds a large group of students that are gathered around the swings. In his area of the playground to be monitoring the swings. He pushes through the crowd and he finds a student lying motionless on the ground in a contorted position. He quickly ascertains that the child has been seriously injured by a fall after shimming up the legs of the swing support to the crossbar. The child falls and is injured. The nearest teacher there at the duty station, the playground, was some distance away, and he, of course, was inside for 7 minutes drinking coffee with a colleague and not being out there where he was supposed to be. Guys, what do you think? Given what we just talked about, what do you think as far as potential liability here? Very much so. Very much so. You know? For kids that age to be unattended, unsupervised for 7 minutes, and what was the delay, or what was the inattentiveness caused by? Just, you want to talk about a teacher that's come up and said, hey, I got an emergency, I need to talk to you about something, I got to tell you something real quick. Or a parent that comes up and says, oh, I need to make you aware of something that causes you to be inattentive. Was he drinking coffee? You're in the cafeteria just drinking coffee. In that circumstance, guys, this comes from a real set of facts, also in a lawsuit. In that circumstance, absolutely, potential liability there, okay? Now, what about the school? What if the principal, and you know, this is where your administration, where they might be, you know, asking a lot of questions all the time and that type of thing, guys, there's this same duty on your administration to be aware of any foreseeable risk and to minimize that also, because in these circumstances, it's not just the teacher that gets sued, it's the school, let's face it, that's, you know, it's the school. Let's say that the principal in this circumstance knew that the teacher had a propensity to be late, knew the teacher had a propensity to just kind of, you know, lollygag around in the cafeteria, we'll run away, we stop and get some coffee and talk and chat for a while. They've been aware of this, the principal did, the headmaster was, but didn't do anything to address the situation, allowed it to continue. Is the principal acting in a negligent manner? Sure. Why? Because the principal has been given notice of this foreseeable risk of children at this young age being unattended and unsupervised out on the playground, and the principal, the administration did nothing to step in. So then at that point, liability can attach to who? The principal. The school. Okay? How about this? Let's add this to our facts. If it's known that this particular student that was injured has a history of climbing that swing, climbing up that swing, first thing that she's going to do when she would hit the playground is always climb up that swing and swing from it in a dangerous way. Has a history of it that the teacher is aware of. Again, guys, in that circumstance, boy, that's all foreseeable risk, isn't it? Absolutely. Okay. When you add that to her facts, definitely we've got liability. One other one.
May I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
You say you put on notice. If I see a risk,
Right.
and it's something that I personally cannot, like these playground equipment, something
Right.
wrong with it, I personally cannot, and I put the principal, the headmaster, the superintendent, whomever,
Everybody on notice.
on notice.
Right.
Does that take the liability away from me?
As
Or am
long-
I still?
As long as, I think you did one other thing. When you went out on that playground, did you tell those kids, stay away from that? Okay? If you did that, I think you're great. I think you're golden at that point. Okay? And y'all, what her question was this. Let's say that she becomes aware of a piece of equipment on a playground that's maybe shaky, that's not real sturdy, dangerous potentially, and she's notified maintenance, she's notified the administration, she's told all of them that this is the circumstance and it needs to be fixed out on the playground. Would that be, that's all very reasonable steps to minimize that foreseeable risk. Would that minimize her potential exposure to litigation? Absolutely. But she needs to do one other thing too. It wouldn't be enough to do those things and still allow those kids to go play on that rickety piece of equipment, right? Okay? So it requires one other step. When you go out there, tell the kids, don't go on it, don't go near it. Now there's a concept in the law called an attractive nuisance. Okay? An attractive nuisance. Give you some examples where somebody, maybe a child, a teenager, something like that, they trespass on your property. They go over into your property and they get hurt. But, you know, they're trespassing. Guys, I'll tell you, there's a concept in the law that you can still be held liable for that damage if you had something out there that was an attractive nuisance. If I'm throwing away my refrigerator, would it be a good idea for me to take my old refrigerator I'm throwing away? Get pulled back, you're like a dog on chain. Would it be appropriate for me to put that out on the road? Just sit it out front of my house? No. Why? Because guys, I promise you, you know, a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old from the neighborhood is going to want to go open that thing up and play. Okay? And could get killed immediately. The courts have. I like that one. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's okay. That's a good one. I like that one. Guys, the courts have also said, you know, if you've got a pool in your backyard, okay, and no fence, and children everywhere, is it foreseeable that a child could come go get your pool and get hurt? Absolutely. And they've said in certain circumstances that the homeowner can still be liable. Now, taking that to our situation with the playground, the faulty equipment in the playground, if you tell the kids, y'all don't go near that piece of equipment, what are they going to want to do? Right. I finally figured out with my 14-year-old, if I tell him the opposite of what I really want him to do, that he'll do what I want him to do. Okay, it took 14 years to figure that out. But anyway, it would it be enough to just say, hey kids, y'all don't go near that piece of equipment, and then, you know, go and get distracted or something like that. They're going to be attracted to it. So it does require more. I think it requires, if you've got that rickety piece of equipment, not only telling the kids don't go near it, but I think it requires more diligent supervision on your part to make sure they don't. To make sure that they don't go near it. Okay? I had another question. Yes?
Well, I was kind of following along with what she said in your previous lawsuits.
Right.
In documenting, you know, aggressive behavior or bullying, that kind of thing, from a teacher's perspective, you
Right.
turn into administration. I mean, that's kind of, I guess, more gray than climbing up. That's black and white. But for me, that, and my friends, as we talk, that's hard.
It is.
I guess my question is in documenting that aggressive behavior and bullying from a legal perspective, how do you suggest we best document that to protect the other children, protect our school and our administration?
Documentation is everything. You know, and I come from the employment law standpoint where I represent employers that get sued by their employees, and documentation of everything is essential. I think that you've got to document what's going on, number one, so you can make your administration aware of potential behavioral issues that they may have to intervene with that child, but also